Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. My name is Louisa Havers, and I help high achievers, entrepreneurs, and coaches lift the lid on life and business so that they can live at their highest value. Each episode, we will bring you our favorite founders, CEOs, and guest experts to share with you their insights and strategies to expand your wealth consciousness, your spiritual leadership, and aligned business strategies. We know that living in alignment with your soul's mission is what fulfills you, and we are here to show you how to achieve this in an energetically aligned way. If you haven't already, be sure to claim your free abundance activation in the Akashic Records. Go to louisahavers.com/gift to unlock your abundance activation today. And if you'd like my support in having aligned success in life and business, then contact me at www.louisahavers.com and let's explore together if it's an aligned match. Get ready to live at your highest value and to expand into your next level of money as you elevate and receive more. You create more for others. Righty-ho, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to our conversation this week. I am delighted to have the phenomenal Shakira Releford with me. A huge welcome, Shakira.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have this conversation because your wisdom and expertise is something that everybody needs to have in their life. So, for those of you that are wondering who Shakira is, welcome to her world. Shakira is a professor, a consultant, a speaker, and an author who prides herself on being a professional problem solver. And she has a background in psychology and interpersonal communication, and she helps business owners and leaders overcome mental barriers that prevent them from growing within their businesses. Oh my word, this is just absolutely phenomenal because it is always the mental blocks that get in the way for
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yes, big time, big time.
So
Mhm.
I love how you help people. How did you get to do what you're doing now? What's been your journey to this point now?
Honestly, I think it's kind of always been the journey. I am more or less at the stage where I'm accepting the call versus trying to run from it. Does that make sense? So,
It does.
um, I also I'm me. I'm just start with me myself. I have OCD and ADHD, and I've struggled for years as an entrepreneur. Like I thrived in the entrepreneurial space, right? And I struggled in the 9 to 5 space. But
I hear
my
you.
struggles as an entrepreneur was like combating those intrusive thoughts and anxieties and letting that be the barrier as to why I couldn't make a certain amount of money. And so it almost organically, I was just venting and sharing my frustrations with people. And then I about 2019, because I've always had a job. Like I started working, my first job was 13. I was 13 years old working at a bookstore. And now I'll be 35 come Thursday. And
Happy
I'm just
birthday.
kind of like, yes, thank you. And I'm just kind of was like at the point where I'm ready to retire. Does that make sense? Like I've been working for so long for other people. I was like, I need to retire. This is not what I thought I was signing up for. But throughout that journey, right? Like I had to really, my mental health had to go through the ebbs and flows of my business. And so in 2019, I was like, enough is enough, right? And so I went ahead and made the investment. I hired a coach, and the coach, he was so sweet. He was just so matter of fact with everything. He was like, get out of your head. It's not that hard. And so now I find myself doing the same thing. I jumped into grant writing and love grant writing and philanthropy and fundraising and storytelling, all those things. And so, yeah, I may work in the nonprofit industry and small business industry, but even as a teacher, I'm like, I am teaching people, if you will, or helping people learn how to go through the process of the problem solving steps to then get to where they need to be, right? Because it isn't that you have a money blockage, or it isn't that you have all these things that's happening more than it is up here. It starts here first. We all have like this inner critic, right? Or the inner judge. And when that speaks louder than the vision, and a lot of things get blocked. And so I found myself having to vent or talk to others who have been in that same space. So honestly, it was really like an organic chemistry type of deal.
I love that. Do you know what? I think that is that natural evolution is how
Mhm.
the path that we're supposed to be on finds
Yeah.
us or we find it, whichever way round.
Yes. Yes. I would be so excited to share all my business ideas, and no one cared about the ideas. They cared about the how. How did you get here? How did you figure this out? How would you? And so I was like, oh, I thought, like when I started my nonprofit, I was so excited. I was like, look, I got a nonprofit. I started a nonprofit. And they were like, okay, how did you do it? uh, what? Like, you don't care about what I'm doing? It was like, oh, so that's where the podcast came in, Nonprofit Unplugged, and that's where all these other, so this has kind of led me to this point because no one cares about what I'm doing more than it is the how. How did you get
Yeah,
here? What made you
amazing.
think about that? And so I said, okay, well, I'm gonna follow this and see where it takes me. So
So just to clarify for me and for the listeners, the non-profit, what is the non-profit? What do you do within that? Is that where you're helping people writing grants? How does
So
it
my
work?
not so actually no. So my nonprofit, my nonprofit in itself, right? It's called Connecting Youth Achievement Center, and we're providing um it's basically it's like a two-parter. So it's like part one is helping families in urban communities or minority families in general be able to access or achieve mental health support and build or strengthen those protective factors. And then on the flip side of that, one of the ways to do it is to actually start in the youth. And so we are opening a micro school this fall to be
Wow.
for minority youth who are struggling in the public school setting and their learning environment isn't conducive for them. And so compared to their white counterparts, if you will, right? Like their white peers who actually have the resources or the um they're not being held down by the systemic racism, if you will, right?
Yeah.
To be able to get what they need, I wanted to offer the same thing and provide the same quality of education, but strictly for minority students. And so, I'm not saying that white students can't participate because it's definitely going to be big for anybody and everybody, but Black and Latinos are 5 times less likely to be prepared for college. And so let's just start dealing with the root instead of laying band-aids and government funding over it,
Mm.
over top of it, right? So that's what the nonprofit is for. But that, however, no one cared about that more than they cared about how did you get grants? How did you write the grants? How did you start the nonprofit? I'm so scared of the IRS. I don't know what I'm doing. How are you able to talk to these, as corporate sponsors? How are you able to put together the pitch? Like the how of the journey was what everyone was like so enamored about that I was like, I don't know. I just da, 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 and so I was like, maybe if I threw it in a podcast and like talked about my journey, it'd be way easier to just send someone like a quick episode or a link and they can just listen to it instead of me like regurgitating it for hundreds of people all the time kind of deal. So no one, my poor nonprofit is just like, it's doing well, it's doing okay. But again, as far as like coaching, that's how the business coaching came to be, because it was like, hey, this is what I've done and here's how I started. And they're like, well, how did you do that? How did you get that? How did that work? Kind of deal, right? And so I was like, oh, here's how. So matter of factly, so yeah.
They're evolved.
Yes.
I
And
love
it
that.
evolved.
Yeah. With your nonprofit, is this focused around where you're based in America? Is it like a local nonprofit or does it reach across America?
It's local for now, and we're building an online infrastructure so we can, be able to make it more of a global thing. And we do global partnerships. We have a partnership with an organization in Ghana, um, which is a Deepa library, and they are offering library and literacy support for the village,
Wow.
the children in the villages, and um, we're really wanting to expand and make it more of a global, we as the board, right? I want to make it like a global market because it's not my own. This is just an idea that I was like, I really want to do this, and this is how I can do the social good without having to, you know, stress myself out with the ins and outs of of running a business, teaching full time, being a mom and a pastor's wife, and all these other avenues and hats. I was like, how can I do this and streamline it to make it more of a collaborative effort of the nation or the people, right? Versus me having to like say, "Hey, look, I have this new business startup." Da da da. So that was so to me, nonprofit just to me made the most sense.
I love it. That does make sense. And I love how you've been able to create a community around it with the
Yeah.
collaboration that you speak of, because
Mhm.
there's so much that we can achieve when we come together rather
Mhm.
than just kind of thinking, oh, it's all on me and I've got to do all the things.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and going down that whole rabbit hole.
Mhm.
So you've got a huge amount of experience with, creating new things and getting things started and growing to that next level. I would love to hear your
Mhm.
insights from, your experience. What are some of the common things that you see that prevent CEOs and founders from reaching that elusive next level?
Honestly, um, it starts with the mental first. And
Mm,
so, well, and I'll explain it this way. When you're given a vision about something, sometimes it just kind of happens out of nowhere. It's in a dream, or you see something. Everyone is into signs, miracle signs, wonders, and you see something 3 times, 5 times, whatever that magic number is for you, and you're like, "This is what I think I need to be doing. This is what I'm supposed to be doing." But it's fear. Even the fear of fear, or fear of success, or fear of failure, right? That creeps in. They don't creep. It comes head on, right? And then it's like, "Oh my god, I can't do that." Like, then you almost convince yourself, "I can't do that." And so we engage our brains, right? Engage in a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors, right? And so that's mainly like it's more left brain than anything. I know this is my right mirroring you. Let me switch it. So left brain, right? And so the left side of the brain is very critical, very analytical, very much like negative, if you will. It's in
mm,
survival mode at all times. If you took the brain has two hemispheres, right and left. And the right hemisphere is very creative and imaginative and all these other things, right? That the creator instilled in us as human beings that we can live and thrive in. It's very artsy, it's very eclectic, it's very if you will, right? And it's in a thriving mentality, whereas the left brain is in a survival mode. When we experience any amount of trauma, no matter how big or small, you know,
mm.
when we experience trauma, and even as young as infancy, right? That trauma stays in the body. We may have kind of let it go and forgotten about it, or don't think twice about it, quote unquote, or it still affects us to this day and we may not even
Absolutely.
see the connection,
Hmm.
but that unresolved trauma lives in the body no matter what. And that's why we have high amount. I'm not saying trauma is the only reason, but we have an increased amount of depression and even, trigger warning, suicidal ideations, and anxiety and other mental health challenges, right? And so those saboteurs, I call them saboteurs, and I got that from Shazar Shamin, who's created or invented, if you will, positive intelligence, right, or positive psychology. And so and like those saboteurs creep in, right, and the behaviors we engage in. So, for example, I have this vision or this dream to start this school. I'm s
Hmm.
although I'm moving forward with that and it's opening, this is 4 years later, 4 years from the initial vision, right? Things take time, and I
Yeah.
understand that, but I could have gotten here in year 2. I could have gotten here in year 3. I could have gotten here in 18 months, right? And I let my OCD, if you will, the intrusive thoughts creep in and then stop me. I let
Hmm.
me becoming a high achiever stop me, the need for control to stop me. Like all these other sabotaging behaviors that we think as CEOs or leaders in general, right? That we're doing for the better good or for the greater good of the company really is hindering our progress from getting to where we need to be. It's delaying it, right? And
Yeah.
so and so usually by the time a client comes to my doorstep, knock knock, they come for multiple reasons because I'm a literally multifaceted entrepreneur. I do whatever, jack of all trades, master of most. And so they come knocking on my door and they thinking, I need you for grant writing. I need you for nonprofit consulting. I need you for board development. I need you for, a 3-day workshop for my team. And in reality, can do the tasks that you want, but we won't get anything accomplished until I'm addressing what is the true challenge?
Mm.
And almost 100% of the time, and I say almost because that 99.9, right, is not full 100. So almost
Nearly.
100% of the time, right? It starts with the here or a trauma, or it's like,
Mhm.
okay, next steps. I have a client that I just picked up last month, and she's moving and grooving, and I love her. And for the sake of this interview, I'm gonna say her name is Maya. Maya
Yeah.
is moving and grooving. She's doing her thing. And then I literally said, well, let's start talking through what you want your board to look like, your board of directors. Oh no. Maya's like delaying Zoom calls, don't want to show up, constantly busy, avoiding it.
Mm.
And I'm like, Maya, what's going on? Like now we have to get on the phone. Maya, what's going on? What's up? Maya's like, I don't, you said that and I got nervous because I don't trust people. Is there a way I can do this nonprofit on my own without a board? Like, is there a way I can turn this into an LLC? Maybe I made a mistake. Like, all of these ruminations come up and all these
Yeah.
feelings. And it's like, why? I said, well, you're going to have to learn to trust people. I can't trust people because of something that happened with her dad several years ago. Right. So we don't know how much we're impacted by our unresolved trauma, if you will, or things that
Yeah.
happen to us. Now we build resiliency. Resiliency is a skill that children have. That starts as kids, but as we become adults, we lose less and less of that childlike feature about ourselves. As we should, as we should be able to grow up and mature as an adult, but we don't have to lose the childlike imagination and the vision and the creativity, which is on the right side of the brain, that helps us to thrive, that helps us to show self-compassion, helps us to empathize with others, and allows us to be vulnerable. We shut those three things down automatically.
Mm.
And we see that as a weakness. I'm a boss. I'm a CEO. I cannot be vulnerable. I'm not supposed to show emotion. Even if you have a small team, you don't it's like, "No, no, 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 I can't do this, I can't do that."
Like, you
And
can't be human.
yeah, we can't be human, and it's like, what are you talking about here? What are you saying to me?" And so
Mm.
I come in and I call myself a professional problem solver or a disruptor, if you will, because I'm coming in to disrupt the pattern. No,
Mm.
no more. No more. If you want to hit, if you're at the 250, 75,000, $100 million status, you want to obviously keep growing. We don't want to just stop and say, oh, you know what? I made my $1 million. I'm good here. Maybe, but we want to keep going, or you want to learn how to diversify that, but you can't because you're letting the idea or the mental block, right, become something that's just obsolete.
And it's that thing of the stories that we can tell ourselves to justify why we've decided we're going to pivot and not move forward in the direction that we said that we wanted to do. If we think of Maya, and oh,
Yes.
suddenly actually maybe I should have had an LLC and not a non-profit because I don't want the board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
With you calling her out on it, recognizing where that
Yes.
resistance has come from rather than it being actually I'm being intuitively guided this way. No, it's resistance taking you down another
Mm-hmm.
rabbit hole. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it can really, as you were saying, elongate the journey for people's success.
Yes.
I can't remember where I heard this. I heard some great person say this was don't believe a thought that you think. And I thought it was such a good
Yeah.
um, description of like, because those thoughts just bubble up. And if we buy them and believe them, then suddenly we're off on a tangent. We haven't actually questioned, hang on, where's that thought come from? Is it my nervous system that's been triggered? Is it the resistance
Yes.
coming in because of the trauma that I can't remember consciously, but my body remembers? And so it's like, hang on a second,
Mhm.
stop her in
Mhm.
her tracks here. I know, give her this thought. Or make her go
Yes.
really tired, and then she won't move forward because she'll think she needs to take a nap. You know, so often people I find when they're about to kind of push beyond a comfort zone can have that sense of their body, their nervous system gets triggered and they can go into complete exhaustion mode, like they're
Yes.
sort of been drugged, tired.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I always say it's like, well, actually, it's showing you where we need to go. We need to take the body with us safely, so we're not kind of creating
Mhm.
more trauma. Um, but it's fascinating how our consciousness, our minds work with our body to try and keep us safe ultimately, so that we're not
Yes.
experiencing any failure or not experiencing any success or,
That's
whatever it
exactly
might
it.
be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I say one of the most dangerous things that we do as human beings is our brains. So let's break down the psychology of it in scientific. So what
Yeah.
happens is with the with the brain and body, the brain creates mental frameworks based on the stimulus in the environment, right? The things that we see in the environment, we learn. No one is born knowing what a chair is or what it does. You experience that. That's learned behavior, right? Like
Mm.
you experience the chair. You pull yourself up on that chair as a baby. You push it around. Then you learn, probably 1, 2, 3 years old, especially if you have to go to timeout. Oh, we sit in this thing, right? Or oh, you've learned that this is just now a punishment tool, or it's something of good
Yeah.
times. We eat on this chair. We do all these other things with the chair. We don't think about how the chair can break and fail us, right? And cause us harm and danger. We never think twice about it until we experience it, right? So our experiences create mental frameworks and perceptions. Keyword. We create those perceptions. What happens is this: when we cannot make sense of something that is abstract, right? Or something that is different than what we may have already learned or experienced, our brains fill in. Okay. It fills in the information that's missing. And so what happens is we create, if you will, a story or a narrative that doesn't truly exist, or it's not based on anything of reality or perception. Okay. Sue Ann, I'm just making this up. Sue Ann
I
didn't
love
call.
my own Sue
I
Ann who
know
we've
it.
met so far.
Right. Right. I send a text to Sue Ann. Hey girl, how's your day? And Sue Ann didn't reply. Sue Ann didn't reply to me in 3 days. I don't know what's going on with Sue Ann, but I'm gonna make up a narrative, right? She could be dead, murdered, whatever, right? Maybe she's on vacation. Sue Ann literally just had her phone on do not disturb and didn't pay attention to the text. But we are not thinking in the most simplistic or pragmatic form, where we jump automatically to fight or
Worst
flight. The
case.
the
Yeah.
the thrive, the not thrive, but the survival kick in,
Mhm.
right? We ruminate. Maybe she's mad at me. What did I do to her? I think we start apologizing for things we did. Eh, We just go into this cycle, woo, this whirlwind. I call it the OC cycle, obsession compulsion cycle. And it goes over and over and
Mhm.
over again. We do it all the time. So when we can't make sense of something, we just make up a narrative to help us justify or feel better about what it is that we're thinking. And so that comes into play, right? And especially when you are ready to take the leap to jump off the next cliff, we then have to make up a narrative as to why we can't jump. Or
Mm.
we make up a narrative of what's at the bottom of the cliff. It's rocks down there. Oh, I can't do that. Nothing or nobody would be there to catch me. We don't know, right? And so, because we can't see beyond that, because we've already brought our perceptions, our learned behavior and experiences to the table. And most times, other people are bringing their perceptions too, and we're taking their perceptions as validity, when in
Mm.
reality, it's not even real. So
Yeah.
everyone's walking around with all these ideas, all these ideologies, and so this is why we have a hard time forgiving one another. This is why we have a hard time literally being able to resolve conflict, being able to listen, because we've come in with our own box office chitter chatter, our own panel in our heads, and the other person's panel is speaking back, and no one's
Yeah.
actually listening. We're just going off of perceptions. So it
So
gets dangerous.
true. Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. It really is.
Hmm.
Until people start to really sort of waken up their self-awareness of questioning the thoughts that they're thinking, questioning their perception, and not making it about them, but
Yes.
being able to recognize, hang on, this is how the brain is, excuse me, the brain is working. And so let me just have a little sense check and have a
Yeah.
conversation without resistance coming in and creating
Hmm.
conflict. It's communication, isn't it? That's the biggest thing. I remember when I used to be a senior manager in social services and leading large teams, all the issues came down to
Oh yeah.
communication.
Communication. Oh yeah. Big time. Big time. Yes.
Always, always. Whether it was conflict around grievances, disciplinaries, even just kind of people misunderstanding each other in a team
Mhm.
meeting or not communicating. That would be half the problem half the time.
Mhm.
Not communicating, misinterpreting emails,
Yeah. All the time.
all
Yes.
things that feeds into, the perceptions. What's the perception of the person that's reading it? Because you can't control that. So there's
Mhm.
so many layers to this of how people are able to break through to that upper level and really understanding their psychology and their mindset and their consciousness around this.
Mhm.
You I'd love to hear your reflections on. You spoke about, how you see yourself as a problem solver, and you've talked about, storytelling. How do you weave storytelling and problem solving into your business?
Oh, good question. Honestly, let's break down the 4 steps, the process of problem solving, and it maybe
Yeah.
it'll help make a little bit more sense. And
Okay.
so
Let's do it.
when we when we are going through someone I had a student once ask me, and this question always stuck with me and never forgot it. Is there a book on problem solving? And I was like, actually there is, right? And if you know anything about design sprints, essentially that's what it is. It's problem solving. But I said, yeah, there is. I said, but let's look at what the textbook says. And so we break down when it comes to problem solving, the very first thing we do when there is a problem, we have to number one address that it's a problem. We have to figure out what the problem is. Number two, we come up with multiple solutions, not just one, but multiple. You start to re pre-analyze. Here's some
Mm,
options, right? If I have a flat tire, if I'm driving on my way to a wedding, tire goes flat, my reaction kicks in, but then we forget to actually problem solve throughout the way, right?
mm.
No one's gonna realistically drive, have a flat tire and be like, "Oh my god, let me pull over and really think about." No one's gonna do that. Let me think about how I can solve the problem. We don't. We don't do that. That's just not realistic. But once we actually figure out there's nothing we can do in our immediacy, right, of being pissed off, we then say, "Okay, well, let me work through all of the options I have. I could change it myself if I know what I'm doing. But I'm dressed up. Who wants to do that? I can call AAA or tow company or get roadside assistance, right? But it might take 3, 4 hours. I'm gonna miss the wedding. That's gonna irritate my soul, right? Right? Or you ask a random stranger off the middle of the highway to help you out. There's some safety
Yes,
precautions
safety
there, right?
issues.
So no, you go through this list of solutions, right? Then from there you implement. Literally just go implement. All right, I'm gonna try to change it myself. Fail. Let me just call roadside assistance. Okay, roadside assistance is going to be my best
Mm,
solution to the problem. Me not making it to the wedding is beyond my control right now because this was something that wasn't expected. So it's not my fault. What we tend to do is take blame and guilt and carry on the identity of shame. I'm such a stupid person. I
mm.
should have checked the tire. I should have done da da da. I can't believe this happened to me. Okay, it's not your fault. It None of this was your fault. It was clearly beyond your control, even if it was your fault. Let's say you knew the tire light was on, the tire pressure light was on, and been on for 2 weeks, and you decided not to put air in the tire. Okay, great. But the tire blowing isn't actually your fault. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
we tend to just take on that guilt and shame. What is that doing for you, right? So anyway, we go through, you need to implement the solution. And then after that, reevaluate. Was this actually the best solution? Yeah, because I was able to get a new tire or get the donut put on. I was able to make it to at least the reception, or whatever the case was. You know what I mean? Like you weigh out the pros and cons of, excuse me, that decision. So we have divergent decisions that we make and convergent, right? And so divergent means multiple solutions, multiple variables that go in to help us make the best solution, whereas convergent decisions and solutions are really my way or the highway.
Mm.
This is the only option I have. Nothing else will do. A lot of people tend to make convergent decisions or have convergent rationales of, this is it. Oh my god, you didn't make the business quota that you were looking to make for this month. Uh, this doesn't work. The whole system fails.
That's it. I
Really?
quit.
I
Yeah.
quit, right? This program sucks, right? What? All you did was sign in and put your username in, this course is stupid, da da da. But you didn't finish the course. So those are things where it's like, okay, it's people are looking for instant gratification. And in
Mm.
reality, everything requires a system, right?
Yes.
Even in
Yes.
our business and our mental processes require a system. We don't literally our bodies observe the thing. Our brains have to go through the process of figuring out what is this thing, has to be taught. Those are all learned behaviors. That stuff takes time.
Mm.
Babies look at phones. You give a baby give your phone to your kid or your baby, and they're gonna look at it and be like, what do I do with this? I'm gonna chew on it, I'm gonna throw it, I'm gonna do everything else. And then you have to teach them, no, 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 right?
Very
You're
quickly,
shaping
they know how to program it and to have a TikTok
exactly. So,
video
right,
and to do the
right.
SEO.
It's amazing. And
Yeah.
so that's something that has to be shaped. Same
Mhm.
thing. We have to shape and practice often how to problem solve. So, boom, we go through the process of problem solving. Now, as it relates to my business though, people come and they're like, I want to hit a goal, right, for my nonprofit or small business or whatever.
Mhm.
I'm trying to 10x my growth in the next 6 to 12 months. Perfect. I sit down and do an assessment with them. So where are we really at? What is your business really looking like, right? Because before I can go over to my formula for your business, I need to go over the formula for problem solving, right?
Mm.
Because I need to know, can you actually see where the problems are? I can, but can you see where the
Yes.
problems are? Have you actually thought through the solutions? You may not know which solution to go with, but have you thought through it? All right,
So,
let's
do you know,
implement each one and see what works. And if it doesn't work, it's not a reason to call me up and be like, this was a waste of money. What? We had literally laid out 12 other solutions. We've only gone through two. Stop. Stop that. Right? Like, let's stop, think, and think this through, right? Okay, we tried this, it didn't work. Let's reevaluate. It's not the end of the world.
Mm.
And so I find myself having to calm them down and say it's not the end of the world. Now, I am a registered yoga instructor, and so there are times where we have to come in and really do some semantic shifts, right? And
Mm.
and and
Mm.
recenter the entire your body because they're too overwhelmed, overworked, whatever the case may be, right? I have a background in counseling and working with individuals with autism, and so I most of my, if not all of my clients are they may not identify as neurodivergent, but they do have some
Mhm.
neurodivergence there. And then I have to remind them everybody has something. There is
Yes.
no normal person. There is normal is a mental framework,
Yeah.
okay, a perception that we have categorized. But really, when you think about it, there's neurotypical as far as the neural minority and the neural majority. A lot of folks are going
Mm.
to fall under the neural majority. All of the quirks about people, quote unquote, and I use that term loosely, is
Mm.
actually what the majority engages in. Some people engage in it more out loud or more frequently than others, but it doesn't mean that no one ever engages. I tell people everyone talks to themselves. It's just a matter of, are they going to do it in the middle of the grocery store or they're going to go wait till they get to their car? Like, where is their self control at? Or you know what I mean? So
Yes. Yes.
I said, so don't look at you being so weird and so different and so all these other things. I'm not calling anyone weird, but these are just their perceptions
The
of themselves.
labels that we can put on
Right.
ourselves.
And
Yeah.
so I said, no, thank you. We're not going to do that. You have to recognize, number one, that, this is something that needs to happen in order for true transformation to come. You have to recognize I have to change. I need to change. This is not working. This has become a problem, right? Um
Mm.
some people who I noticed there's people who are making 6 and 7 figures and they start having slow periods and they come to a halt and they can't go past that number, and it kind of freaks them out a little bit because they're like, why can't I get past this number? And I'm like, let's problem solve. This has become a problem and we are aware of that. Perfect. Check one. Step two, what happened? Where's what solutions? What changes happened in you that made this stop?
Yes.
Because if you're having an automated system, your funnel is working fine. It's been working up to this point. Why would it stop? Right? Oh, if your email list is growing, why would that stop? And we come to find out, oh, well, they stopped being consistent. Well, there
Yeah.
you go.
It's
That's
such a
going
big
to
one,
affect your
isn't it?
numbers. Yeah. It's like, well, you stopped being consistent. What happened? Why did you stop? Oh, they're having a bout of depression. That would make more sense. Let's
Mm.
work through your depression. What's got you here? Because this is going to affect every area of your life. And so that's how I like to sit down and work through. So my clients are lifetime clients. I always, some people are like, oh, my coaching programs, I stopped doing that. I stopped putting a label. Oh, it's going to be 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months. They're going to be lifetime clients because as long as you're alive, there's always going to be something, right? Now,
Yeah.
what happens is once we, when they're ready to work, we can sit down and get everything together literally in 12 weeks. And then from there, it's just maintenance. But
Mm.
start to finish. Let's put it that way, start to finish. But overall, this is going to become a lifetime relationship.
It is.
It,
That's what I love about coaching is it is a lifetime relationship. Whether clients are working with you like one on one or in a group program, it's not here you come in and then see ya kind of thing.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you know people so well, and to be able to really hold the space for them as they're navigating whatever it is that they may be navigating and helping them with their problem
mm-hmm,
solving. And I
mm-hmm,
love how you talk about helping people to see more than one solution so that they can really assess the best way forward rather than thinking it's got to be down this one path.
exactly.
Because that just really is going to create a whole lot of stress and pressure on that solution to fix the
Mm-hmm,
problem.
mm-hmm,
Whereas actually, if you really open it up and go, right, this is what we have on the table. And one of the things that I can't remember who said this, but it was one of my mentors said that as an eight-figure entrepreneur, all it meant was that they had solved more problems than someone who was earlier on in their journey. And I thought that's exactly it, because as we grow our
mm-hmm,
business, we're going to face new things, whether it's a mindset issue, whether it's an energetics issue, whether it's a strategy issue,
mm-hmm.
things need to be solved. And the gift is
Yeah,
when we keep going and keep
yeah,
going and being able to, but not in a pushing way, because of course that just creates more resistance, but actually in
yes,
an allowing of what is unfolding, what is
yes,
asking to come through me. Because often I find when people are hitting those plateaus, that there is something else that is being asked to come through. And in terms of they may have grown and they are actually wanting to offer something else in their
mm-hmm,
service. And they've been holding it back, and it's been creating this inconsistency, or all the manner of things that how it
yes,
starts to manifest. But ultimately, when you can solve the problem, and then the
yeah.
flow comes back
And
in.
it's yeah, cakewalk. And they
Yeah.
always are like, I should have done this sooner. Yeah. You got to trust the process though. And that means trusting yourself. And a lot of us don't trust ourselves. A lot of us can't have difficult conversations with ourselves, which is why we struggle with conflict management with others. Right? A lot of us
So
cannot
true.
be able to like there's a lot of we tear ourselves up worse than any enemy and hater ever will and ever can. We just
Yeah.
do. We are hard. I mean, we legit treat ourselves like the scum of the earth when we don't have to. So a lot of this, a lot of the coaching, I should say, I give is me facilitating their own journey. Like I'm never telling them which solution to choose, more than I'm offering all the pros and cons of
Yes.
every choice, and you make whatever choice you make is going to be the best choice for you because it's for you and your business. No business is going to be the same. No nonprofit is going to run the same. And me and my me writing grants, and I was telling another person this the other day. I said, if they think they can hide from me, it will never happen. Because if I'm going to write a grant for you, I'm going to have to come to the point where when I ask questions, it's going to show up. It's going to show up in how you even talk to me. It's going to show up in how you present your answers to the questions, how I even have to write this stuff out. And so when it comes to storytelling, I'm really like pulling teeth and a kidney almost to get them to really like And so then I have to ask, what is the holdup? What's the pushback? What is all of the angst about? And then we get to the nitty gritty of it. And if they, and that's just for like a grant writing client. Like if they're coming to me, for example, for legit small business coaching and consulting, or what nonprofit consulting, then it's like, okay, if they're brand new, haven't started, don't even have a business name yet, then I can walk them through this process. But if they've already been in the works for a little bit, a couple years, still not seeing or getting to where they need to be, oh, I know exactly where we can pinpoint. And so
Mm.
I wrote out, I actually which is going to be my second book, wrote a roadmap. Here's how we can actually navigate this thing. It's a lot of, psychology and communication stuff, but
Oh,
honestly, it's
pretty valuable.
targeting. Yes, but it's really targeting, like, how do we build that trust in relationships? How do we recognize these things when they show up? And I know I mentioned a few different disorders in here in the manual, if you will, but it's the same. How do we lead with confidence and resiliency? How do we cultivate that mindset? How do we strengthen our team? The how to, all these questions I get, I just was like, I need to write this out because
That's
this
going to fly off the shelves, Shakira.
I pray it does. I pray it now. And now it's going to be an ebook only, right? It comes out in a couple of days, but so it's an ebook only because I know a lot of people like me. I'm like, let's say paper, and I would hoard a book in a heartbeat. Like I would hoard books like nobody's business.
When it comes out, will you give us the link, and then we can pop the link underneath the show
You
notes?
you darn right I will. You darn. I'll give you the main, like I'll send it to you tonight or
Oh,
later this
you.
afternoon when I get it back from the editor. So yeah,
Oh,
I'll
perfect.
I'll send it to you published and ready to send over, and y'all can have it for free initially. But I, for your audience sake, because I do want
Amazing.
yes, no problem.
Thank
I,
you.
you're welcome. But I do want to see people live in abundance.
Mm,
And abundance doesn't have to just be monetary wealth. It legit starts in the mind first. You got to think
yeah,
abundantly to live abundantly, to be abundant. Like, you know what I mean? Like to
it's a
become
beingness.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely. Oh, Shakira, I could talk to you all day.
I
Just to
know.
kind of bring it bring it to a
Me too.
close. I have to get you to come back. What would you say are the 3 tips that you would, like you'll have touched on them already, but just to kind of wrap it up, 3 tips for entrepreneurs just to kind of anchor in their mind that they can take away with from what you've shared so far?
Definitely. All right, anchoring down. Number 1, recognize that it's okay to not be okay. At the end of the day, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not have it all together. That's what professionals are here for. We're here to literally help you and facilitate and guide you. We're linking arms with you. We're not your enemy, although sometimes you treat us as such. But it's not the case. We're not the enemy. We really are that coach. We really are that support system that you're literally longing for. And so recognize that you do need support, and it's okay to not be okay. Right. Uh Number 2, other people's perceptions is not your reality. Your perceptions feel real, and I'm not invalidating that at all. That's why I said other people's perceptions. So other people's viewpoints and perceptions of you and your business or what you have going on is not your reality. It's not true. They
Mm,
are easily building a narrative that doesn't make sense to them to make it make sense. But that doesn't
mm.
mean it's actual facts. Just okay?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
don't adopt it as such because it's not true. That freed me up so much, honey. I was like, where was this when I was in middle school? Uh and number 3, and I don't know if this would be technically like a third one, but and number 3, um, embrace change, embrace self-compassion, embrace your imagination. Your imagination is the reason why you are as wealthy as you are, because it takes a creative soul, right,
Mm,
to be able to create and see
yes.
a vision about something that no one else can see but you. You are a true visionary in your business. And so don't lose sight of that. Become a child again. Tell your
Mm,
tell your 5-year-old, 6 and 7-year-old self This is, if you know, when you ask a kid, what do you want to be when they grow up? They can tell you in a heartbeat, and it changes every second, every other day, right? But they are dreaming. So don't stop
Yeah,
dreaming. Don't stop dreaming.
I love that. Absolutely. That's exactly how we create. Oh, thank you so much for this incredible conversation, Shakira.
You're
How can
welcome.
people come into your world, come and find you? Where do you hang out? What are all the links and all the things? We'll pop the links in the show notes, but where do
Mhm.
you hang out? Where can people find you?
I am always on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my jam. I didn't take advantage of it 10 years ago. But you can find me on LinkedIn at my name, Shakira Releford. Shoot me a message, respond to a post. Hey, I'm here, there, and everywhere. You can also email me directly, successwithshakira@gmail, and I'm pretty responsive. So yeah, definitely find me on LinkedIn. If you need anything, everything I should say is gonna be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my new link tree at this point because
Oh, love it.
you know what I mean? Like Linktree, you have
Yeah,
all those links, and I'm like, I would have like 7 pages worth of links. So just find me on LinkedIn. It is
perfect.
much easier.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and for your time. I've just loved having this conversation with you.
Thank
And
you.
please do come back on the show. We'd love to have you. Love to have you back.
Oh, anytime, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's joined us and has been listening today. We'd love to hear your reflections. So please do tag us on LinkedIn, because then Shakira can see it. So share your thoughts and your
Yes.
takeaways, and do share this episode with anyone that you think it would serve. And until next time, I will see you all very, very soon. Lots of love.
Thanks for listening to the Infinite Prosperity podcast. And if you like what you've heard and want to know more, please go to louisahavers.com. We just appreciate you so much. So thank you for listening and hanging out with us. If there's anything that we can do for you, you can email us at louisa@louisahavers.com. Let my team know if you have any ideas for shows that you'd love to hear or topics you want me to talk about. Really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Until next time, namaste.